Sorry, had to pause for the cause. Um, Before I go on with the story, which I guess I'll label this as part two, 2 weeks ago I had spinal surgery in my neck, and that's where they went in at. But if I keep coughing or clearing my throat, it's because I still have some swelling in here, and it it causes me to kind of choke sometimes, or feel like I got a dry throat, or itchy, or scratchy, or whatever. So now you know. The more you know. Okay, so fast forward into now, looking back on all of this, um, I you know, there is a select group of people out there that I really would like to focus this on, and I've probably gotten off key a couple times, off base a couple times, but I'll circle back. Don't worry. Um, if you are struggling with sexual orientation and you think that you have no option but to stay in the closet, pretend to be straight when you're not, and that it's going to be the cure all, end all, it's not. And I hate to tell you, but you are setting yourself up for a life of shame, hurt, destruction, and fearfulness, guilt, um, fearing of being found out. And ultimately, what happens is you ruin your own life, but you ruin the life of the person that you drug into this mess because you didn't have the guts to stand up and say, "This is who I am, and this is how I want to conduct my life, and I'm going to be authentic to who I really am, and to hell with what everybody else thinks." If I had it to do all over again, and I've been asked this question several times, if I had it to do all over again, would I have still married my ex-wife, and? And I always pause because this is not just a simple question. It's a multifocal question. Would I marry a woman? No. Simply because there is still to this day a huge part of me that feels like I ruined my ex-wife's life. She's forgiven me. We've talked about it, but still to this day, I feel like there's a part of me that still feels like I ruined her life. The only part of that question is we had children, and I can't imagine my life without my children, and nor do I want to. The thought of something happening to one of my kids, and by the way, when I was talking about I adopted two children, I didn't legally adopt them. They just become mine, and you know, it is what it is. But I wouldn't want to do anything to not have my children. Would I've had children a different route and waited till later? Yes. Yes. I mean, there are perks about having children in your early 20s. You're still relatively young whenever they get to the point where they can kind of stand on their own 2 feet, and they become, adults, early adults, young adults. But I would have really went back. I would have really, if I could go back, taking back what I know now, and seeing the damage and the heartache and the strife that I put them through, no, I wouldn't. Because if I hadn't have, I could have just kept the damage to me, and I could have dealt with that. I could have kept the hurt and explosion of pain and all of that um, combined in one or confined into one box and dealt with it easier. Now, I have lived in a lot of places. I've traveled, I've been, and um, coming to now, I guess I'm just at a point where I feel like I kind of want to tell my story. Not that it is any better than anybody else's story, but again, it goes back to the premise that if I could help somebody make the decision to come out or make the decision to, be happy, then maybe that's what this is about. And I can damn well hear people out there, oh, you're just doing that for attention. You're such an attention whore. Well, I may be a lot of things at times, but that is, I promise you, that is not what this is about. I just feel such an overwhelming urge to bring to light some things that maybe some people that I even know personally will sit back and they'll take stock in and they'll be like, Um, after I divorced, or after my ex-wife and we were done, and like I said, I chose to be straight or gay, going from straight to gay. Um, when I really started coming out, I mean, it was a slow thing. I think people rumored and gossiped and whispered and all that goodness, but, I didn't live close to where I grew up then, and I was out in the world, and I could keep it hid better, the day-to-day goings on. Um, I got into a relationship, and was in a relationship with someone for a little while, and we are still really good friends to this day. And then that didn't work out, or it ran its course, not to his fault, but to mine. There was things that I wanted to pursue and do and get out of a relationship, and I wasn't getting it, so I was like, I got to go. Then I very quickly met another, and by the way, remember that. I very quickly got into another relationship with someone. By the I'm not going to use names, okay? But it for people who actually know me, you know the story. But anyway, I got into this relationship. It lasted about 4 years. I truly loved and was in love with that person, and it was a time in my life where I was still dealing with things and career and work and money and being a parent, and I still felt strings back to my marriage to my ex-wife, and I made it very hard on that person. And looking back, I know I did. I mean, they did things too, but we're all human. Hello. But I made it very hard on that person, and and I regret that, because that person was not a bad person, and he's moved on, and he's married and has a family and is happy now, and I only wish him the best. But at the time that he left, I was devastated. I was absolutely on the floor, bawling, devastated, didn't know what end was up. My world had been just jerked out from underneath me, and I wasn't close to my family. and at that point, as far as geography, and I didn't want. I told them, but I didn't want to expose all of it to them. So what does one do when one's trying to self-medicate heartache? Well, yeah, best way to get over one's to get under one. I went into a relationship. I pursued this person, and I went into a relationship, and it was, to say fast forward on the fast lane is an understatement. We met at the end of, say, the middle to end of November. We were living together by the second week of December. We were engaged by the 1st of January. And at that time, the only way for gay couples to get married legally, there was just a few states that it was legal in to go get married there and be, married. And Iowa was the closest place for us. We drove in February, middle of the winter, to freaking Iowa. Des Moines, Iowa. Do you know what happens in Iowa in the middle of February? Nothing, except for snow, cold, wind, nothing. Very beautiful state, I'm sure. But it was just, and I will say this, we got married at the federal courthouse in downtown Des Moines, and it's a beautiful building. Anyway, the relationship got rocky real quick. It was like as soon as we said I do, it got rocky, and I become miserable really quick. But at the same token, this person checked off so many boxes up here that I was looking for that past relationships hadn't, that I overlooked a lot of stuff. How I told my parents was the morning that we took off to Iowa, I called my mom and dad before my mom went to work. So it was like 6:15 in the morning, and we're on the road somewhere in Missouri, headed north. And I told them that I was on my way to marry so-and-so, and didn't care. They didn't say a whole lot. They just did the best with it and went on. What I didn't know was that shortly after I got married to this person, he and I become the hot topic back down in the homeland, down home where my parents and my family was. And I guess it was the big news. Sad that something like that at that point was the big news. But it is what it is. So we, anyway, go through a lot of hurt, heartache, bullshit, blah, blah, blah. That marriage didn't work out, and it ended. That was 5.5 years ago, and I have been single pretty much ever since. I've dated a little bit and all that. Now, what I realize and what I can tell you right now is if certain people see this video, they won't speak to me. They will be very standoffish. Not that they were pinpointed in the video, just because they are so uncomfortable with and so disagree with homosexuality. Here's the deal. I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not to make you feel comfortable. I'm not going to do it because I have to be me. Nobody asks you to be something that you're not, that you can never be. Well, it's the same here because we're all human. We're made of flesh, blood, bone, with a soul given to us from God, and we have to be true to all of that. And yes, I said God. I'm a Christian. I'm a gay Christian. There is such thing. And, I know there's a lot of people that have issue with that, and they think that it is a contradiction, but in reality, it's not. And I am not going to shy away from my love for God and my faith. I'm not going to shy away from that to make, again, somebody else feel comfortable. Because, see, people feel comfortable when homosexuals don't show up to church. And that'll be a different video. I may do it today, but it'll be a different video. But anyway, so what I want to get through, I'm going to wrap this up, and what I want to get through is this. Don't try to be something you're not, whether it's black or white, red or green. Don't try to be a tree when you're just, grass. Don't try to be an elephant whenever you're really just a, kangaroo. Be yourself and be true to yourself. And if you're a kid out there and you're going through that coming out struggle and you feel suicidal, listen to me. If there's ever been anything that anybody's told you, listen to me on this. Trust me, I know. Somebody out there loves you and they care and they don't want you to harm yourself. You have everything that you need to be happy, even though you don't realize that that's a possibility. Please, we all deal with anxiety. We all deal with depression at some point or the other. I am not a stranger to it at all. Please reach out and let yourself get help. If you are turned down by your parents, your family, if they kick you out or they disown you, damn it, there are people out there that will lovingly take you into their lives and you will become a part of their family. And family is family. Again, blood is not always thicker than water. With all that being said, if you are feeling suicidal, please, please, please Google suicide hotline for LGBT youth and call. Pick up the phone and call. Make that first step and call. You're worth it. Bottom line. I'll post again soon. Thank you for listening to my story. I thank you for your time. And there'll be other stuff that will be a lot less heavy than this coming along. Because remember, I'm not doing this for anybody other than for me. Have a great day.